The predictive brain. Why are we blind to most opportunities? As I explored current neuroscience and psychology, I noticed a fascinating possibility. Many of the missed opportunities in our lives might not be due to luck or circumstance, but could actually result from how our brains process and predict the world. While neuroscience has mapped out the ways our minds use prior expectations to interpret information, what's called predictive processing, I have a video on predictive coding. It's day number 60. If you haven't seen it, you definitely want to watch that after this one. I believe this same system quietly filters out new possibilities before we ever consciously consider them. In this talk, I'm going to share my hypothesis built on what the science does show and explain why I think the way our brains predict reality could be the hidden reason so many opportunities slip by unnoticed. Just as importantly, the brain's way of interpreting the world isn't passive. Research in neuroscience describes predictive coding. The brain constantly generates expectations about what's coming based on prior experience and updates those expectations when reality diverges. My hypothesis goes further. The very mechanisms that help us interpret familiar situations and minimize surprises may also filter out unfamiliar opportunities before we're consciously aware of them. We're going to look into the concrete examples and evidence how opportunity blindness, as I call it, can be traced to the mechanisms of prediction, how the brain's priors, cultural hyper-priors, emotion-driven prediction errors, and experience-driven model updating. These explain not only perception, but also how we navigate every problem, challenge, and decision in life. So understanding predictive coding and Bayesian inference helps us identify exactly where our thinking goes wrong and gives us leverage to challenge the internal models that determine our choices. So let's start by clarifying what scientists mean by the predictive brain. Your brain isn't passively recording what's around you. It's constantly making predictions. And every moment it uses what you already know, your memories, your habits, your beliefs, to form best guesses about what's likely. So when reality matches your guesses, your belief is reinforced. When reality doesn't, your brain experiences what's called a prediction error, prompting it to update its expectations. So this process is called Bayesian inference. In simple terms, your brain starts with a prior, which is an initial belief formed from previous experiences. And every new piece of evidence or sensory data is compared against those priors. If the evidence fits, your expectations stay the same. If not, your brain recalculates, building what's called a posterior belief, a new, better informed model. So this method, inspired by probability theory and Bayes' theorem, lets you navigate a world full of uncertainty without starting from scratch every time. So predictive coding takes this theory further. Neuroscientists describe how the brain actively anticipates incoming sensory information, constantly matching predictions against real sensory data. And the differences between the two are prediction errors. Your brain's goal is to minimize these errors efficiently. It wants reality to be as unsurprising as possible. So your brain wants reality to be as unsurprising as possible. In daily life, this means when you walk into a familiar setting, your brain expects certain sights, sounds, and experiences, and you only really pay attention if something unexpected happens. For example, sitting in a meeting, you don't analyze every person in the room. Your brain runs on expectation and only updating its model if you see something surprising, like someone new joining. So crucially, this method of filtering isn't just about sensory processing. It extends to how you interpret challenges and opportunities. So when faced with something ambiguous, your mind draws on past experience, sometimes prematurely. So this can mean that possibilities are filtered out long before you've consciously evaluated them. this built-in mental routine, the urge to quickly interpret, label, and move on can cause missed connections, stifled experimentation, and overlooked solutions. So understanding predictive coding isn't just an academic exercise. Recognizing that the brain operates by constantly updating beliefs anchored in recently acquired evidence, influenced by prior experience, helps us see why we're prone to stick with the known and overlook the new. So the next step is to examine how the unexamined mindset, right? You have a mindset. I'm going to tell you all about this. But you're not examining it. You're not looking into what it is, what it's made out of, and is it working for you or not. It's built on these prediction routines. It deepens this selective attention. Okay, your unexamined mindset deepens this selective attention, filtering what you consider possible before you even begin. Okay, so how does your mindset filter opportunity? So let's look more precisely at how your mindset acts as a filter on what you see and pursue in life, because of the way your predictive brain operates according to scientific models. No one really explains exactly what is this mindset. It's three things. Your mindset is made up of your personality traits / affective style. For example, if somebody is neurotic and anxious, I'm giving you some examples here. And then number two, context-related, culture-influenced skills and knowledge. I put it together this way, okay? I'm paraphrasing. Skills and knowledge that's contextual and affected by culture. And third, temporary physical and psychological condition. These three things make up your mindset. These variables account for the individual differences that we all have in perception. So neuroscience shows that even before you consciously assess a new situation, your brain deploys hyperpriors. These are deeply ingrained background expectations shaped by your personal experiences, culture, upbringing, education, social environment, even your current physical or mental state. So hyperpriors are like invisible built-in rules about what counts as real possibility, what's considered normal, or even what risks or creative detours are worth your attention. So for example, the kind of jobs you think are available to someone like you, the relationships you believe you could have, or the projects you consider realistic. All of these are shaped by your hyperpriors. Even highly intelligent, motivated people rarely meet challenges with fresh eyes. Instead, you map the new onto the old, matching unfamiliar opportunities against established mental templates and labels, such as, oh, this is too risky, this is not for me, or I already know how this turns out. Psychology refers to this as a attentional set, your brain's tendency, once primed, with a category to overlook everything that doesn't fit. So what's the consequence of this? Every time you encounter a new environment, idea, or person, these hyperpriors are operating in the background, unconsciously narrowing your bandwidth for novelty and growth. They help you navigate life efficiently, but that same efficiency means you're likely to filter out real opportunity that simply fall outside your trained expectations. The act of recognition ends further exploration. When you recognize something, when you label it and identify it, further exploration is done. So this means a fresh challenge or creative idea can be dismissed in seconds, not because it lacks potential, but because it didn't resonate with your hyperprior. This underscores how we approach and perceive almost everything in life. Guys, the label, we're satisfied, it's done, move on. We're not exploring, we're not investigating, we're not finding and looking for the opportunities, we're not seeing all that's there. So to break this pattern, it's not enough to just try harder or be more open-minded. It takes a moment of conscious pause, a habit researchers call metacognition. So this means actively catching yourself when you recognize a snap judgment or default reaction and asking, wait, what if there's more here than my first impression. So creating mental space at the moment can slow down the autopilot and give you truly new information a fighting chance. So in a world overloaded with choices and distractions, this scientific habit of conscious openness becomes essential if you want to expand your capacity for growth and opportunity. So let's turn to the role that emotion plays in the operation of predictive processing and why it matters for missed opportunities. That's what we're talking about here today. Neuroscience research shows that your brain's predictions and your emotional responses are tightly interwoven. They're not separate streams. Every expectation you hold is colored by affect, by emotions. When what you expect matches reality, you experience relief or satisfaction. When things diverge, your emotional system sends up a signal, often anxiety, tension, or discomfort, flagging a prediction error for your brain to pay attention to. You know, if those memories are linked to embarrassment, anxiety, or failure, your body primes you with caution before you have a chance to consider the situation, the new situation. The brain, aiming to minimize prediction error, learns to avoid context where emotional surprises have been negative. If your history includes challenges that led to negative feelings, your predictive system generates discomfort when facing similar scenarios, even though the facts may be totally different. So this automatic process keeps you from taking small beneficial risks. Social neuroscience further demonstrates the subtle cues, body language, tone, group mood, activate emotional predictions. And the result is that your mental radar for openness or withdrawal gets tuned more by effective memory rather than by new objective evidence. So empirical research supports that positive affect, good mood, optimism, increases the likelihood you'll notice options and take exploratory action. Negative affect does the opposite, leading to risk aversion and a tendency to stick with routine. So the takeaway isn't just that emotion can trap you. It's that these effective reactions are reliable markers for hidden prediction errors. Rather than treating discomfort or hesitation as reasons to retreat, use them as cues for inquiry. When you feel your attention narrow or resistance flare up, pause and ask, what expectation is being challenged here? Am I reacting to the current evidence or an outdated emotional template? The scientific habit of using emotion as data is essential for expanding your field of possibility. All right, memory constraint, the tyranny of experience. So let's examine how your past experiences, what you've learned, suffered, or achieved, not only guide but also limit your openness to new opportunities. In the framework of Bayesian inference, each time you're confronted with a new situation, your brain draws upon stored priors, their beliefs and expectations built from your own personal history. So this process is efficient. It allows fast decisions using past results to predict future probabilities. But it also means that novel experiences or surprising possibilities can be missed if they don't fit the established patterns stored in your memory. When you encounter something unfamiliar, like a chance to apply for a different kind of job, start a new relationship, or learn a skill, you automatically retrieve similar past events as templates to judge the current one. If your previous attempts brought discomfort or failure, those effective memories can bias you toward avoidance, skepticism, rejection, even before you objectively assess the new evidence. Okay, so in Bayesian terms, negative priors weigh so heavily that they drown out new data and possibilities. So if your personal narrative is rich with stories of rejection or disappointment, your brain's predictive machinery expects more of the same, focusing your attention on obstacles or flaws and filtering out encouraging signs. Even intense positive memories can create inertia, prompting you to chase the same kinds of goals, relationships, or solutions even when times have changed or new options are more adaptive. So let's see here. To counteract this effect, research suggests you need to deliberately update your priors, actively seeking experiences that challenge your dominant narrative, exposing yourself to new contexts or feedback, and inviting perspectives from outside your usual circles. So when you intentionally engage with unfamiliar information or environments, your brain's predictive models become broader, less likely to impose outdated limits or new opportunities. This process, sometimes called model updating in neuroscience, is the foundation for growth beyond what your past would dictate. So predictive processing allows you to swiftly categorize the world to minimize uncertainty and prediction error. This means that as soon as you encounter something new, your brain immediately tries to fit it into an existing category or template. If it finds a good enough match, it stops searching. Your focus shifts and your curiosity comes to a halt. So this shortcut has evolutionary roots, helping our ancestors react quickly to threats or opportunities. But in today's world, when most decisions are ambiguous and high value comes from innovation, this cognitive habit can turn into a liability. For example, at work, you may dismiss an idea as impractical or not my responsibility because it doesn't fit your established mental categories. In creative fields, rapid labeling can stop exploration or unfamiliar solutions. In relationships, it can keep you from seeing people in a new light. In a complex environment, this can result in overlooked options or failure to recognize when old models need updating. Instead of allowing the first label or categorization to end your consideration, use it as a starting point. Ask yourself, if my first impression isn't the full story, what else could this be? This habit of open-ended curiosity is a strategic practice that increases your chances of uncovering new opportunities in everyday situations and big life decisions. All right, theory of mind. This is a great one, guys. You may have heard of this. I'll give you a short summary or update on theory of mind. It's very interesting. So let's turn to a uniquely human capability within the predictive brain. Theory of mind is the ability to think about what others know, want, or intend. So according to social neuroscience research, the very same predictive coding principles that govern basic perception also apply to our social world. Your brain doesn't only predict what you'll see or hear, it constantly makes probabilistic forecasts about other people's beliefs, desires, and likely behavior, right? Theory of mind is how you're able to, because you have a mind and you understand how a mind operates, you make these guesses about how someone else's mind is operating. Why are they doing what they're doing? What must their beliefs be? What are their intentions? And so on. So here's how this works. When you encounter someone new or engage with a group, your brain's mentalizing network, another great word, mentalizing network. This means if your previous attempts at networking or collaboration led to embarrassment or rejection, your predictive system primes you to expect the same outcomes in the future. So you withdraw or hold back. Quick mental labels like unfriendly, not my crowd, or not interested often reflect rapid predictions, not facts. They are built on priors and shaped by culture and past interaction patterns. So misreading social cues isn't simply a flaw of intuition. It's the brain's drive for efficiency at work, attempting to minimize social uncertainty and avoid emotional surprise. So what is the solution? So active research-based theory of mind means deliberately questioning your first assumptions about others. When engaging, pause to ask, what didn't fit my expectations? Am I missing something? Is my assumption based on current evidence or just on old priors? So seek more data, ask more questions, be open to nonverbal signals, and challenge yourself to interpret surprising behavior as an opportunity for new understanding. Now, not as a reason to be offended or shocked. All right, how do we actively counter these built-in mental constraints? Research provides several evidence-based strategies. Let's get to it. Number one, notice automatic labeling and pause. So awareness is the first scientifically supported tool. As soon as you catch yourself rapidly dismissing a person, idea, or decision, stop for a moment. Introducing this small interval disrupts your default mode prediction cycle. Okay? Create some mental room for alternative information to be considered. Number two, use emotions as information, not commands. Alarm, boredom, discomfort, these are outputs of your brain's prediction error minimization process. Number three, update your personal narrative. So priors aren't fixed, they're updated by exposure to disconfirming evidence. Intentionally seeking input from diverse sources, making small experiments outside your comfort zone, and asking friends or colleagues for reality checks. They all help rewrite your internal models. Okay, deliberate model updating strengthens your neural circuits for openness. It reduces your brain's tendency to shut down. Number four, replace closure with curiosity. When your mind settles quickly on a judgment, practice immediately searching for exceptions to the rule or alternative explanations like, what am I missing? Would a different perspective change what I see here? So this self-challenging increases the likelihood of identifying new solutions and spotting opportunities that others miss. And five, broaden your social prediction consciously. Since much opportunity depends on others, use theory of mind strategies. So before assuming that someone is closed off or uninterested, gather more evidence. Ask clarifying questions, double check your assumptions, and treat ambiguous signals as invitations to learn, not reasons to expect rejection, guys. All right, so the practical reinforcement here is track moments when you see yourself labeling or reacting automatically. Notice uncomfortable feelings that lead you to withdraw. Do they match the facts? And once in a while, seek out a task, a conversation, or environment that contradicts your routine. Okay? So, in this talk today, we've explored the neuroscience of missed opportunity, how your predictive mind, originally shaped by evolution for survival, now silently influences which doors you see as open or closed in your life. The brain's machinery does not simply process information. It predicts, labels, and updates internal models at every moment. The system is efficient and robust, but it can become limiting if your priors and hyper-priors are never questioned or updated, right? Those are the deep background expectations from personal and cultural history. So you can thank yourself for listening to your curiosity today. Stay aware, stay open, and keep challenging the predictions your brain tries to make for you. They once kept you safe, but now they're your starting point for growth. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, Henry's Millions.